all said, I think. Very nice discussion, very nice presentations also from both of you. And yeah, I think this is the scope. I can just emphasize the discussion that SKOS provides the framework to do this this work, to come to a joint effort to which is not centralized, but which needs cooperation between the institutions. I think this is what we actually succeeded in Germany, to get quite a number of institutions together that that really want to bring forward this these issues, and that that want to cooperate, and that provide also opportunities for their staff to work in such kind of working groups. And I think it's both right. It's we have the framework now, and it's quite easy from a technical point of view. It's very weird from a from a content point of view. There are many questions, but I think, yeah, starting with some areas, for example, the geographic names, that's a big step. It would be a big step forward. And as Alison mentioned, it's just a question that any institution starts to refer their own entries to a standardized controlled vocabulary, like AAT, like ULAN, like also national vocabularies. In Germany, we have three vocabularies of the German National Library, and if we just start to integrate in our daily work to refer to these vocabularies, then we can really move forward with the SKOS framework to bring these resources together. And yeah, I just end with one quite simple example that I took out of the sources that Alison provided. You showed this same, or one of these examples from the kitchenware broad category. So this is the SKOS graph for this concept. You have, you define the lexicon. You have just to map your data fields to the SKOS properties. And then you get into the framework. And it's, I just want to stress the point that SKOS is just one piece in the whole thing. Here it is easy. This is, here we are talking about categories of objects. So SKOS provides you with all properties to describe this, as you have the narrower, broader categories, you have alternate names. Well, one question for me was how to relate the broad category and the subcategory. Is the subcategory always a narrower of the broad category, and the value is a narrower to the subcategory, right? Okay, so you have to do this kind of analysis, and then you really have to see what kind of vocabulary do you have. For object categories, SKOS applies for the main for the basic structures. If you have persons, I mentioned before, that SKOS is not the it's not the best choice from my point of view, because yeah, you're dealing with individuals, and you want to identify this individual, to describe it perhaps with vital dates, with contact points, email address, things like that. So you have to go to other ontologies like FOV. And the basic question is which RDF type do you you have to analyze what kind of entity you are dealing with. If it's a concept, so it's well defined as RDF type concept. If it's an individual person, it has to be defined as a FOV person. So this is the first point, and then you merge different vocabularies together. For example, for geographical names, this is a very good example where authority file and thesaurus structures are mixed. The TGN is a real thesaurus, and for example, it lacks the georeferences. So you may want to refer the place, the places described in the TGN to real geographical places in the world. So you want to include the georeferences. You have to import another ontology that allows you for assigning these properties. So it's it's a lot of work to do. SKOS is one very important piece in this framework. I think nothing more to add at the moment. I have some mapping two mapping examples to Lido also, as Alison sent me some data examples for that as well. I'm not so sure. Maybe I will show that at the end after the discussion just for those who are interested in. Or do you want to have a look now? Yes. Okay. So, Lido and the CDOC CRM, I think it's another piece, a very important piece in this whole spectrum. No, I want to go forward. Oh, okay. So this is one of the examples of the Israel Museum that Alison provided me with. We have here the internet representation of this painting. And, well, I just put the Lido equivalence into this last row. No, this last column. And here, this is one of the crucial points in Lido, that here you have a field name place. Well, within your database, it may be obvious that this is the creation place of this object. But if you have only the field descriptor place, the field name place, nobody knows what is the relationship between this place and the object. So in Lido, you have to make explicit that this is the place relating to the creation event of this object. And at least I assume that the year is the date that relates to the creation event, and the artist obviously is the creator of this object. All this information goes into the event set with type with the event type creation. here you have a nice example in your database that you already distinguish indexing and display information, I suppose. At least this is the reference to the standardized record and the individualization of this person. And this is how you want to appear it on the internet. In this case, the object name, I suppose, is an object work type. It's not just a title for this specific work, but it's, it classifies the object. So you have some credit information, we have credit line information, rights information in the administrative metadata. We have a description element as well. And so you might find this, this record then in a very basic HTML view of the XML Lido record. And here you have the structure of the event set. And to come to multilingual entries, you see here that the wrapper that holds together all the descriptive metadata has a language attribute, which is here assigned English. And as it is the case here, I think that you have the whole data records in both languages, English and Hebrew. You will repeat the descriptive metadata set once in English and once in Hebrew. So this is one example. The second example is the this ketubah. I've learned that this is a marriage contract, and this this object, now described in Lido, would also result in a creation event as this specific contract that is signed and is a unique object. This contract has been created during an event that is the marriage event. So this contract has been created by all the people, the groom, the bride, the witnesses that assigned this contract. And this event is related, this creation event of the contract is related to another event that is the marriage of both of these actors. I think I will put, we can put the whole example, also the Hebrew and English variants. 1 minute,
Orly's shaking her head. Orly, what's your question?
It's too basic.
No, please, come on.
I don't see, I'm not getting the point, I think. Because if we have mark as a basic or any other common standard, I mean, another standard and another standard. I mean,
yeah.
I don't see, why do you have to map this basic mark record into taking it into another concept of an event, which is the marriage that has a contract within it. I mean, just taking the artifact and putting it upside down in order to map it to another project. I mean, it's endless. It looks like endless. It's kind of depressing.
Well, yeah, from one point of view, yes,
Am I missing something?
Here I can say you're happy in the library world because you have mark, and all libraries, almost all over the world, do use mark. But there are 2 points, I would say. First, dealing with museum collections, we have not such a standard. We have not one data structure used in such a wide spectrum than it is MARC. And the other point, I think, I didn't get the name of the other colleague who was just talking about how to Aura, okay. Where's she? Ah, sorry. I'm sorry. She was just talking about the problem how to record a unique object in the MARC dataset, because the MARC data structure is not designed for this kind of object description. And so there is quite a lot of information that you want to record for such a unique object, for which the MARC dataset just does not apply. So
no, it's not the MARC. It's not the MARC. It's the tezauroس that is the language, the description.
Okay, that's the second level, I would say.
You can handle MARC.
Okay.
Because MARC knows the problem, and I think every year they add fields that will suit our needs, because they are listening to our needs, and especially now for the digital collection and other problems that today raised today.
Okay. But how would you handle bride and groom, for example? They're not creators, and they're not authors, and they're not... The bride and groom that's mentioned in this ketubah that's in the JNUL collection, or not?
Well, we have added entry also, and we have cooperative writers, and we have also description, and we have notes, and we have the main idea also is how to retrieve and our users.
Right.
And at the end of the day, in I don't know, 20 years, how we'll retrieve the information for the digital content also, how we'll retrieve the object we want to do it, and how Google will retrieve it also.
Yeah, but that's combination. You need a combination of all everything, the control and the data.
Yes, yes.
I had a series
One of the reasons I think that the cataloging code that was supposed to come out in 2007 to replace AACR2 has not come out by 2010.
June 2000.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Anyway, it's because it's based on theoretical ontological models instead of, if you want to catalog this, turn to page, use this rule. I think that these ontological models are good for cataloging experts, but that they're very difficult for most catalogers to use, most practitioners to use. They're made for an intellectual elite,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and you know.
Well,
how do you use them?
Well, really the point is, for sure, you continue in your own database and in your data structure, and you will not create the Lido records. These are created automatically from your system. So this is just a means of exporting your data and making it understandable in a broader context. And you would say, well, MARC is well described and everybody can understand it. But if you run a portal, as we, for example, have 80 partner institutions, and we get metadata in 80 different structures. One is MARC, one is EAD, one is various museum collection databases. So, for sure, when at the moment where a standard is used, it's also quite easy to just map from one metadata schema to the other automatically.
You can do that in RDF without SKOS. One database.
Well, the point is, if you just, if you just, for sure, you can publish your own data structure as an RDF schema and make it available on the web, and everybody, and you can say, well, it's understandable for everybody. Then you should have a very good description of your data structure so that others can read and have a chance to understand your model, which is a lot of work. The more you have common structures, the more you can really merge the data, because anybody has to tell you that your mark data field X has the same semantics than another data field in another structure, and anybody has to do this mapping. I'm not an expert at all with librarian standards, so I just can say that MARC is not the standard that is used in the museum world. And coming back to your question, why just do this now? Athena could have chosen also perhaps MARC as metadata model for the project. But if you want to build up one central access point like is European, you need one common data model, and it's a question years and.
Did you do this mapping automatically, or at the first time somebody should map it?
Yes, sure.
Like field.
Well, in one step you have to map your data fields to the lead data fields, but then it's done for sure. You don't do it manually. You just that is, for example, what is within Athena now. There is a mapping being implemented so that you can just import your data structure, map to fields, and then an XSLT transformation is generated that transforms your data. There is a very nice saying, I think it's from Martha Baker from the Getty Research Institute, about standards, that standards are like toothbrushes. Everybody thinks they are a good idea, but nobody wants to use the other ones. I think that's a good summary. Okay. So, well, just a short view on this last example. This is one object from a regional museum network in the north of Germany, and I just wanted to show you this graph, which I won't go to explain, but it's just to visualize that the Lido schema is also can be expressed as RDF triples in the same way as the vocabulary information. So this is at the end what we want to do, just to publish all these pieces of information in one standardized way and make them accessible for merging and linking the information pieces. Yes, and I will skip this now. This is the slide that I have already shown you before. This is the main application framework. Here really focused on yeah, on current museum practice, I would say, because the whole semantic web and linked data and RDF thing, it's quite new in the practical surrounding of the museums. But the point that you have to publish your collection information, and you want to make use of in a broader context. That's yeah, that's a need that is quite common nowadays. And I think we try to provide a practical mechanism for these questions that are also designed for use with non-semantic web experts, I'd say. Yeah, and so Dorf knows already this my conclusion on controlled vocabularies and also data structures. I think that SKOS on the one hand, together with other ontologies, and the CDOC on the other hand for the museum documentation are the standards to which you should refer. That's it.
I want to thank very, very, very much Regina Shteyn. She was very didactic, very clear, and she put a lot of work regarding this. The former presentations were much more technical, and here you really tried to make it more plain and more understandable. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If we were to make a discussion, we made the discussions before. If there is somebody that wants still to try something, I only want to tell you that this is a first step. We have the backing of the Internet Society, and they are ready to help us to advance this program. Only a few things. There are several million objects related to Israel and to the Jewish people that are going to be online in June, July 2010 through Europeana. Europeana is the European Library. Europeana is part of the linked open data where there are billions. There are, I think, 9 billion archive triplets. And these billions of data become substantial, became meaningful when you have knowledge. And knowledge is expressed synoptically in the controlled vocabularies. A tezauros it's not a list of words that somebody assembled, but it's a conceit, it's a summary of the knowledge of a specific community. Only such vocabularies can make sense of those billions of RDF triplets, and this is the issue. The issue how we can create such nuclei, such core points of knowledge inside this edge database that is the log. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.